today's Who Would Win of the Week is kind of like the ultimate assassin, but in just the worst way. This week's Who Would Win of the Week features John Wilkes Booth up against Lee Harvey Oswald. Maybe a controversial Who Would Win of the Week.
I don't think
But,
so.
I mean, we're talking about the assassination of our presidents.
Right.
So, like, there's a little bit like, but enough time has passed to where it's
Sure.
for,
And
you know,
people
jokes
want to
be-
know.
Yeah, who would win in this fight? Because
Yeah.
this is. Are they the only two presidents that have ever been, like, assassinated and died?
I'm going to dive into my notes. Also, assassination means that they were killed.
Yeah, okay, that's what I mean. But, like, an
But
assassination attempt would be.
right, successfully
Because I know,
assassinated.
like McKinley got shot, obviously in Buffalo,
But
but
he
he
did
didn't
die,
die.
didn't
Not from the.
I don't know.
No,
That's why I have. In
I
my
don't believe.
notes that he did.
No, I was William McKinley for History Comes Alive.
Okay, well, I don't know about that because
okay.
I have it up.
You start us off. I have to look this up.
Okay, yeah, you look that up. So, potentially McKinley or not, if you're including him, then 4 presidents have been assassinated. Lincoln was the first president ever assassinated in 1865 by John Wilkes Booth at the Ford's Theater, Washington, D.C. And then you had James Garfield was assassinated less than 20 years later. James Garfield was assassinated in 1881. Then McKinley, maybe, in 1901. And then, of course, JFK, who was the last president assassinated in 1963. So a couple things.
Okay, let me just cut in real quick. McKinley did die from the gunshot 8 days later, so a little bit of time. But he was assassinated.
Right, but that definitely counts as assassination.
Yes.
So a couple other things to rattle off to keep in mind here, because when JFK, it's been a long time since we've had a president assassinated. Good thing, and so you kind of have to wonder. So apparently, if you're gonna, Jesus, I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind. So the Secret Service, who protects the president, was created 3 months after Lincoln was killed. Now, kind of side note, interesting thing about that, they were the Secret Service came together not to protect the living president, but to protect the dead president, because people wanted to steal Lincoln's body, and the Secret Service were.
So can I say something right away? Can I say something right away?
Okay.
This actually is something that I didn't know, and it makes it interesting because, well, I kind of did know that. Never mind. I'm going to hold it in.
Okay.
Keep going.
In the last century, there's been an estimated 30-plus attempts to assassinate presidents, plots to kill presidents by groups or individuals. But these two guys.
But when you say that, though, were they like plots that were foiled, like in the act, or was it somebody saying like, "Oh, I have a plan to kill the president," and then they never get the chance to do it because they get wrapped up right away? Or were these like somebody was like in a window during a conference and like held up a gun and one of the snipers saw him and boom?
No, yeah, I'm not saying it like happening in action, but I am saying like some of these are probably people that like have everything ready to go.
Okay, so this is a real assassination attempt.
Yeah.
30 throughout the last decade.
Yeah.
That's 10 years?
Oh, I'm sorry. Century, not decade.
100 years. I was going to say, that's a lot of assassination. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of assassination. Although maybe, you never know. So, these two assassinations are compared constantly. I'm sure you've all heard. You can look up, they've got like little Venn diagrams about like the circumstances surrounding these deaths, the similarities between Lincoln and JFK, the similarities between their assassins. Have you ever heard about that Lincoln dream thing? Which I feel like that can't be true, but do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's a story about like Lincoln supposedly had this dream that he was at a funeral where there was this casket, and he walked up to somebody and he's like, what happened? Like, who's dead? and this person turned and told him, like, the president has been killed. And when he walked up to the coffin, there was like a young, like, good-looking man in there. So people were saying that that's
JFK.
JFK. Yeah. I feel like there's no way that can be true. That's a lucrative story. I don't know where it started, but that's kind of just like, I don't know. It's something cool that would be in a movie or something. But so let's compare the stats straight up here between JWB and LHO. John Wilkes Booth was an actor who was not as successful. He came from like a family of artists. His sister was a writer. His brother was also an actor. His parents were artistically inclined. His brother was a more successful actor. Edwin Booth was a more successful actor than him. So John Wilkes Booth, he also, this is a weird thing I thought about him. John Wilkes Booth had his own initials tattooed on his hand.
No problem with that.
That's just what kind of person does that? A narcissist?
Yeah.
A psycho? That's weird.
Weird, but I have no problem with it. I mean,
I don't know. I think that says a lot. Not as much as, killing a president.
Well, I compare it to this. Like I've thought tattoo purposes for myself, like getting like my own hockey number tattooed on me. So I mean, just kind of like that's.
I guess so.
It's
but
not
I feel
my
like that is
initials, but
different.
to a lot of people that I know, I mean, they know me like
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
5,
All
like
right.
my number, like.
Fair enough.
Let me jump in real quick, just with a little bit of info that, like, from what I. So you have a lot of research over there.
I got a couple more stats. I definitely
Let me hear. Get them out quick though. Let's boom stats
Okay.
and then let's go.
Right. So John Wilkes Booth, he died 12 days after Lincoln. He was 26 years old while he was on the run. So he killed Lincoln in D.C. and then he was on the run for 12 days in Virginia, where the cops or whoever caught up with him, and he was hiding out in a barn. So what these guys did is he that's right, he broke his ankle. He was on the run. He got help though. Like I'm sure they put him in like a cart or something. He got out of there.
He jumped off. He jumped onto the stage.
Yeah.
Yelled whatever he yelled.
Sid Semper Tyrannis.
That's when he broke his leg, and then he limped outside, stole a horse.
There you go.
And booked it.
So he made his way to Virginia, hiding out in this barn, standoff style with the cops. So what happened was, the cops they light the barn on fire that he's in, and then while he's in the barn, they shoot him. Now Lee Harvey Oswald, they catch him like. I don't know how long it was exactly, but I feel like it was like less than an hour after killing JFK, because he killed JFK and then he shot a cop and then he hid out in a movie theater and they got him in the movie theater. So obviously the movie was not over yet, so you would assume it was probably less than 90 minutes. And then he was killed 2 days later. And also, so Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine. And he had like a very troubled past. Like he was a juvenile delinquent. He'd been in juvie. He'd committed like small crimes and stuff. He also was a communist who, for a while, defected to the Soviet Union.
Oh, Okay, are you got more? Are you still going?
I mean, just to say, like he was shot and killed 2 days after.
Okay.
His assassination attempt, or success.
So.
In police custody.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. There's speak that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the actual person who assassinated JFK, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But for this purpose, we're assuming that it was him, solely him. He did it. He killed him. So let's get into the breakdown.
Yeah,
Is that what we're doing?
I'll assume that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So. I looked up their heights. That was the number one thing I wanted to know. They're both about the same, 5'9", 5'8".
Mm-hmm.
I believe John Wilkes Booth was the inch taller, but it doesn't matter. That's close.
Yeah.
I think one thing you have to take into consideration is that there was no Secret Service, right? There's nobody guarding the door of Lincoln's booth when he's watching the plays. It was always like that. We know that. So right away, you maybe give Lee Harvey Oswald a slight advantage because he successfully did it in a time where there was security surrounding the president.
Right.
Then I look at, okay, well, he got killed 2 days after, caught and killed 2 days after, whereas John Wilkes Booth, 12 days, plus with the broken leg or ankle, whatever it was. So that advantage maybe goes to John Wilkes Booth. However, different day and age, maybe a little easier to find somebody, especially somebody that kills the president. But I don't think you can undercut the toughness factor that comes with having that broken ankle in a time where you couldn't just get around, you know what I mean? Like you had to hop on a horse. So I think that that's something that comes into play.
Yeah, and I'm thinking the same thing because while Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine, and I personally just feel like John Wilkes Booth was like kind of a pussy. Like when I think about him, like that's just
what did he
not,
yell? Temper Tyrannus,
Semper Tyrannus, death to tyrants. Is what he yelled. But he grew up in a time where, like, growing up, like, your chances of just getting to the age of 26 naturally were, like, low, like, way lower than, even fucking 1963, right? The time Lee Harvey like, grew up and stuff. So I do think that John Wilkes Booth probably did have a certain amount of toughness that just came with the time, just like a certain amount of manliness that, like, you just was embedded in the culture and inescapable, even for, like, sort of the wimpiest of men still had that feature instilled in them a little bit.
No, I definitely agree. It's a little like 1,000 Ways to Die in the West type, like. Yeah.
And
no, he definitely had some grit to him, but he's
getting on the horse with the ankle and stuff. But I also think Lee Harvey Oswald, just based on, like, when he was a kid, when he was 8 years old, I believe, he was taken to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist called it. The psychiatrist said, quote, "This kid is emotionally disturbed." That was a term that they used. So that's a little, like, there's, like, the guy's a little bit of a psychopath, right?
Here's what I'll say, and I got to be quick here because I got to get on the road. I think that I was very on the fence. I knew that Lee Harvey Oswald had a military background, and that even without the toughness factor that I think that my mind associates with John Wilkes Booth because of the time period, still wanted me to give an edge to Lee Harvey Oswald. However, I didn't realize that he was a communist. I think that being a communist takes a lot away from Lee Harvey Oswald when it comes to that situation. I think his mindset's different.
Yeah. And if you read about the way he defected and stuff, I think you're right.
Yeah, so for that, I think I'm locking in John Wilkes Booth as my answer. Andy, what do you think?
Well, listen, I mean, look, like you said, the military background, that's, I think, the most impressive thing between both these guys. But at the end of the day, JWB, the OG of assassinating.
The OG assassinator, the original. He's pretty much the original. You know what I'm looking for.
I have no idea.
John Wick. Maybe that's where they got the name for John Wick. John Wilkes.
There's a lot of similarities there.
A lot of similarities.
Ooh.
So, however, did you see all the similarities also? Okay, go ahead.
However, if it weren't for John Wilkes Booth and that plot, Ben Gates' great-great-grandfather would have lived much longer.
Yes, obviously.
So it's tough for me to side with that.
Yeah, because okay. I think that is a conversation that I have to save for another time for time purposes. Unfortunately, right. I just wanted to say the last thing I'll say before we get out of here is just briefly looking up like there's like conspiracies that like relate to the the coincidences that like connect Lincoln and Kennedy. Like they were both elected to Congress in 46. Like 1846, 1946, they were both elected a president in 60. They both lost their sons in the White House.
Civil rights stuff.
both their assassinators were born in 39. That's crazy. That's something I didn't know. Yep, 3 names with 15 letters. And Kennedy and Lincoln both have 7 letters. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy who told him not to go to Ford's Theater. Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln who warned him not to go to Dallas.
Okay, that's insane. That last one I didn't know. So you can get into, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is this is why people have talked about this for so long. I've heard about a lot of those things. I did not hear about that last one. That's crazy. But yeah, I don't know, folks. The truth is out there. Let's lock in these votes quick because I know you got to go. Ah, shit. Gun to my head. I'm going Oswald. I have to. I think he's going to.
You're going Lee Harvey Oswald.
I have to.
It's a fair pick. I can't debate. I just think that I don't like the fact that he's a communist, so I wouldn't root for him in a fight.
No,
so I know that I'm kind of
I
stepping
think
into
he's
your
gonna take
territory
it.
of, are you truly taking the integrity of the game serious? All right. Well, that wraps up the Hooligan of the Week.
Yeah. Vote
We
on
split
Twitter.
the difference there on the president assassinators. Vote on Twitter. Vote on Instagram. Get all that stuff out.